Real change starts with you letting something old die. There was something that came to me one day recently. It said, but first you have to die, and then I will give you every one of your desires, and then some. But you have to die. Now, that didn't mean that I physically had to die, but it meant that the old version of me, the one that I was clinging on to, the one that I kept thinking on with the old habits and the safety net and the way of thinking, the old places that I used to visit and still run to now out of comfort. It was in that moment of realization that I felt my whole body like literally shift. And I don't know about you, but I'm in a space where I've been saying that I want to trust God while still keeping parts of my old life on standby. Not because I don't want to trust Him, but just in case. Just in case things didn't work out the way that I wanted them to. Just in case that breakthrough didn't come through fast enough. Just in case I needed something to fall on when I fell. And that's when I realized something very much uncomfortable is that a lot of us do not actually want to have a transformation. We just want insurance. We want the new life. We want everything that God is calling us into, but we want the security of that old one. We want to move forward, but also we want to leave our hands stretched behind us. We can't do both. And I was reminded of the story in the Bible of Lot's wife in Genesis 19 and 26, I believe. When Lot and her family, they were asked to leave the city that they were in because it was full of sin and so much was going on. And in the midst of them moving forward and getting ahead, she looked back, and which was one of the things that God asked her not to do. And instantly, she became a pillar of salt. Now, most people are going to focus on the fact that she looked back. But what I realized is that she didn't look back because she was curious. She looked back because parts of her were still attached to what she was leaving behind. A part of her still believed that there was something there worth holding on to. And if I'm being honest with you, which I am, that has been me for quite some time. And maybe that's you too. Not necessarily where you are physically going back to the old, but you're also not fully moving forward either. You're holding on to things emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, looking back at old identities and fears and just the old ways and habits and the old versions of ourselves that God has been leading us away from. I had to realize the hard truth is that sometimes the very thing that is standing between us and the life that we've been praying for isn't something that's evil or bad luck or a missed opportunity. It's simply our refusal to let that version of ourselves go. Even when we know that whatever it is that we're clinging to and killing off is the very thing that keeps us stuck, we cling to it because it feels safe and familiar. But what you have to understand is that the old you will always want to feel whatever it is that was familiar to you. But familiar and faithful are not the same things. Sometimes faith looks like letting go of what it is that you've always leaned on, whatever it is that was always comfortable and familiar to you, before you can actually see what it is that God is replacing it with. And I know that can be terrifying, but also you have to realize that maybe that's just the point. Maybe the resurrection only comes after something dies. Maybe the life that you've been asking for and praying for is only on the other side once you do that sweet surrender. Maybe the reason that you're feeling so much tension right now is because you're trying to keep something alive that was meant to be dead and buried. I don't know who this is for. I know it was certainly for me. But if you've been feeling pulled into two directions lately, one of you clinging onto what was old and the other part of you trying to move forward, let this be your reminder. You do not need to carry the old you into your next season. That old version of you has to go. Not because God is punishing you, but because the person that you are becoming, the person that you want to be, can't fully live while the old version of you is still commanding to survive. Because in order for you to truly live, catch this, you first have to die.